But Nadia Batacleti, if she couldn't cross the line first today, that will be her 4th consecutive gold medal at European cross-country level. We asked her yesterday at a press conference, how do you stay motivated? She said she wakes up every day knowing that this is her target, knowing this is what she wanted.
But big question marks over Batacleti's fitness, having got glandular fever after Munich last summer and having a long break.
There really are questions. You have to be honest. Nadia Batacleti, shin splints, or it's hard when you look at translation of different descriptions of injuries. But Nadia Batacleti, a mid-season break with a shin injury that ruled her out, I think, of the World Championships. Decent performance in Munich. It was okay, and then glandular fever after that. It's a really fatiguing viral infection that you can get, and she said she's really struggled since the summer. Numerous infections. Finished her last dose of antibiotics 10 days ago. And for anyone that's tried to do high-level sport and take antibiotics, it really drains you. It's very hard to manage that and to be able to train at any capacity. So what we're going to see from Nadia Batacleti today is a little bit unknown. I was really encouraged. She was 6th at a race in Spain at Piemonte-La. She beat a lot of very good senior athletes there. That was back in October. It does sound like there's been issues since then as well. But hey, we're going to have to watch these 4 long laps unfold to see quite what we're going to get from Nadia Batacleti. And I do think Megan Keith, last year's under-20 winner, is going to push from the front. She really enjoys front running. And I think Megan Keith is going to push it hard in these early few laps.
Yeah, Megan Keith making fabulous progress. Ran in the 2019 European Junior Championships cross-country, was 27th, and 2 years later was champion. And she and her coach, Ross Cairns, have prepared so well for this. She was 2nd in the UK trials. But, I think in Britain we're lucky because the cross-country scene is so strong that if you place highly in our trials races, you can come into international championships like this with realistic ambitions and belief that you can finish in the top 10. So they can go out with confidence, the top British athletes.
Oh, they certainly can. And I had a really fun interview with Megan Keith a few weeks ago. We've done some podcasts promoting some of the key athletes as we move towards the SPAR European Cross-Country Championships. And I said to Megan Keith, she was that race in Britain in that trial race, she was taking on Jess Warner-Judd, and she was pushing at the front, and Olympians left, right and centre, and she was like, I just thought, why not? If it feels a bit easy, what's the point? She grew up in the Highlands in Scotland. She said she loves cross-country. She thinks there's nothing purer than it. And I was kind of thinking, if anyone was going to look at a mountain like this and think it was okay, it might be someone that grew up in the Highlands of Scotland. But Megan Keith, she has moved up an age group here, though. She was against much older athletes. It would be quite some feat if she could convert a junior gold into an under-23 medal.
Some of those athletes really struggling on that first little climb there. They've got 4 long laps, 5,772 metres, these athletes. There's 60 athletes from the 21 nations in this race. So on the first of the 4 long laps, just a couple of minutes on the clock, and signs that quite a few of this field will really struggle. Come the 3rd and 4th laps, we're going to see some real problems, some real challenges.
I think it's about doing, as I watch these races unfold, it's about doing enough up those hills to keep yourself in contention. But it's almost as though if you lose concentration, if you get sucked into battling somebody up those hills when you're not perhaps totally ready, it's really going to sting. And it's incredible the difference you see. And people, first time up the hill, they look absolutely fine. The second time, they really struggle. And Darren McElhinney was one of those. He looked fine for kind of 3 or 4 attempts up that hill, and then it was the fifth one or the 6th one, he really started to come unstuck. So I think the course does need to be considered and respected. And I wonder, when these athletes, they're busy warming up for their competition, quite how much time they've got to look at other races and try and factor that into their plan for their own competition.
Sarah Healy is up there for Ireland in the top 4. Healy, the 21-year-old European youth champion at 1,500 and 5,000 back in 2019, and then European silver medalist at 1,500 metres in 2019 at European junior level. On the Irish cross-country recently, so we know she's in great shape. Goes to University College Dublin, having turned down loads of offers from American universities. Hannah, you took the silver, didn't you, and went off to the States?
Oh, I enjoyed. I spent a year over in the States and at the NCAA system. I think it's really brilliant for developing athletes. I do love the work that's going on in Europe. You just look at this, you said before, Tim, this condensed cross-country season we've got here on the continental level. It's really well organised and very, very competitive, and I think it to pit our top athletes across our continent together in competitions, it just really helps them develop. That was something I used the American collegiate system to do, as many other athletes do. But if you can make it onto your national team, you've got a brilliant opportunity to test yourself against the very best. Sarah Healy has really done that over the years. Her victory at the Irish Cross Country Championships was convincing over Ciara McGeehan, and I think that was exciting for me, and that made me think, Sarah Healy could certainly compete for a medal here today.
Manon Trapp is up there as well for France in 4th place. We haven't mentioned her yet. The French, of course, with that rich cross-country tradition. She's twice French cross-country champion, is Trapp. 15:25, pretty respectable 5,000 metre time she's got. And recently came 3rd in the Gujan-Mestras cross-country, well-known cross-country race in the French portfolio going back many, many years. Gaps beginning to open up now. I was looking at Megan Keith just now in Batacleti, Hannah, and wondering whether or not Megan Keith ought to just test Batacleti on this next climb, because if Batacleti has got fitness issues, you could fall into the trap of paying her a little bit too much respect. The tall Italian on the far side there. She has got this reputation as being a great champion, but if we know she's really struggled for several months in the last 4 or 5 months, then just test her a little bit. I think Megan Keith should go into this hill, put in a little bit of extra effort and see how Batacleti responds. I
think you're right, Tim. And you've got an athlete that has been public about the issues they've had, which is very brave. I think that's kind of admirable from Nadia Batacleti. Why not be honest with your struggles and what's going on? That's a lot more engaging for our fans, and just really tells the story of the whole race. And yeah, Megan Keith would probably think it's important to keep pushing on and take a look back through the field. See, Eloise Walker, I think, is kind of 2nd in the under-23 rankings. Those are in the 5,000 metres. That is led by Nadia Batacleti. It's been a tricky year for Batacleti, but she's still around 15:10 for 5K, and that is head and shoulders better than Sarah Healy and Megan Keith could aspire to for a few years over 5,000 metres. So if Batacleti is fit, I think she should be able to live with anything that Megan Keith throws at her over this 6-kilometre course. But I do think you're right, Tim, that Megan should have a go and keep pushing.
Great Britain leading in the early team standings from Italy. Also up there's Grace Carson, coached by my old mucker Bill Foster up in Loughborough. And the British team, she's in 4th place at the moment, Grace Carson. Sarah Healy giving a good account of herself. The Dublin athlete, Irish cross-country champion, went out in the heat of the World Championships at 1,500 metres, but she has run 4:02, 8:46 for 3,000. She's very much a world-class performer, is Sarah Healy. She's in 3rd place at the moment, but Megan Keith just beginning to lean into this hill a little bit more with purpose, and Healy has lost a couple of metres.
I think Sarah Healy, she's very good over cross country. I think she is a 1,500 metre runner, that's her strength. She was very public about her sports psychology issues that she had going into major championships this year. She ran brilliant times on the circuit and just failed to convert that at championship performances, and I applauded her honesty, particularly at the European Championships, just saying I need to sort this out, and she's working really hard, and we've seen some great results so far this autumn, and really hope Sarah Healy can continue to show us her very best in the championship environment.
3 British vests in the top 5, going really well. Alex Millard is up there as well, the national cross-country champion for junior women this year in the UK. So 2 away, then a group of 3 pursuing. Batacleti and Megan Keith here, beginning to widen that gap on Sarah Healy. And I'd like to see Megan Keith here just test Batacleti. I know I said it a few minutes ago, but I don't want Batacleti to be given undue respect if her fitness is suspect, and there's only one way of finding that out.
And is that the end of 2 long laps? So halfway through in this under-23 women's race, and that second lap has just blown the field apart. Apologies, they're not quite finished this second lap. I did think before looking at this race, that if it went how I expected, it'd be Megan Keith pushing on, Nadia Battacleti the only one that could live with her, and then we'd see what happens through the latter stages. But it's halfway through, and already for me the two pre-event favourites toe for toe. The defending champion Nadia Battacleti of Italy trying to take a home gold here in Italy. Megan Keith, last year's under-20 champion, leaping up into this older age group and looking very much at home. And suddenly behind these two there was a real battle going on for the bronze medal. We spoke about Zach Mohammed, and there was a particular course in Great Britain that I thought was very similar to this, and Grace Carson and Alex Millard, the other two Brits, both coached by Bill Foster in Loughborough, they finished 1 and 2 in that race, and again they're just coming to the fore here over this hilly testing course.
British packing well, they're 14th, 15th, 16th, Margini, Walker, Goodall. But these two have wrestled the bull by the horns, eased away from the pack. Millard and Healy there leading the chase. Trapp as well for France is going well. Manon Trapp, first in the French cross-country championships last year and this year, and she won their 5,000 metre title this year as well. So 9:58 after 2 laps for the leading pairing. Both look pretty relaxed, to be fair. Battacleti with home support will be getting massive roars all around the circuit from the spectators. That may be a decisive factor. And there's the team standings, Hannah. 10.5 for Great Britain ahead of Italy on 30, France on 43.
That is some margin the British team have got over the rest of these European nations so far. I was looking back down the field. Anna Arnardo was 7th last year, the second scorer for Italy. She looked like she was just struggling a tiny bit, drifting back, and that could be indicated by those 30 points at the moment for the Italian team. The French have got 2 up there. I think they have to go back a little bit further for their third, and that's why we've seen that really low team score for Great Britain and Northern Ireland at the moment. So Manon Trapp, for me, she came out of the indoor section really far down. I don't know if she's struggling on the uphills, the French athlete, and then trying to make it up on the flat and the downhills, which might be tactical. She might be thinking, if I can kind of keep my heart rate a little bit lower up these hills, ultimately, overall, when the race pans out, that's going to suit me. Manon Trapp there, just trying to get on terms with Sarah Healy. That's the race, the pack that's fighting for the bronze medal. As we could be seeing gold and silver running away.
So into the hill for the third time of 4. Battacleti just with a marginal lead, the defending champion. She is from a running family. Her father was her coach. Giuliano Battacleti was 17th in the 2001 World Cross Country Championships, and also in 1994 World Junior 5,000 metre bronze medal he took. He was quite some athlete. And Battacleti herself on paper is quite a lot faster than Megan Keith. Megan Keith's track bests are nowhere near the Italians. She's run 9:06 for 3,000 against Battacleti, who has run 8:50, for example. And Battacleti really good at 5,000, 14:46.
We're just starting to see the ground getting chewed up. I think you can see their Manon Trapp almost wincing off the top of the hill there. They're slipping. There was Nadia Battacleti took a real slip on that short, sharp incline. So these athletes are going to start having to choose their ground, choose their line, try and find some firm ground. Because if you slip like that and you're just losing momentum, it's soul destroying and physically very hard to get yourself back up to speed. Not much to tell from that hill. Megan Keith and Nadia Battacleti, neither one of them making a decisive move.
Well, they're sharing the lead again and again through Lamandria Castello for a penultimate time. And Megan Keith was leading up the slope. I thought she might have been easing away from Battacleti, but the Italian has rallied. And this, the third lap of 4. In a mile race, this is a very important race. You know, you can actually, if you haven't got a great sprint finish, you actually make it hurt from early on. This is where you push hard in a mile race, going down the back straight with a lap and a half to go. But Megan Keith here, I just get the feeling now that Battacleti has turned it up another notch. Yeah, look, I think she's testing the Brit here.
I think a lot of the Italian athletes seem to grow up doing mountain running. Yaman Crippa has spoken, he has a mountain running background, but I do think the Italians seem very good at running up and downhill, and Nadia Battacleti getting herself in front, I think that's a good tactical decision for that downhill descent. You don't want to be having to worry about what the person in front of you is doing. You want the clean sight, you want to be able to relax. But she's not shaken off Megan Keith at all. And this could be a big last lap from Nadia Battacletti. She pushed off the top. She won kind of the race to the top of the hill, pushed through the flat section. But Megan Keith has navigated the descent really well and has got herself onto the back of Nadia Battacletti again.
Well, there's that turnaround junction where they enter the hill and leave the hill area. Megan Keith up alongside Battacletti, glancing to cross there. I don't know if she was getting a shout from her coach or from who just then, but I'm sure Ross Cairns is here and roaring her on, giving her advice with a lap to go. This is the decisive lap now. They go through, locked together. There's not much let up. I think because they've been swapping the lead so regularly, that indicates they're both pushing hard, Hannah, and that's why the gap behind them has widened up.
It's almost like Nadia Battacletti swung wide on that bend. It's like a track race. Megan Keith seemed determined to get herself back towards the lead. We can see Alex Millard, Grace Carson have pushed themselves ahead of Manon Trapp. She was struggling up that hill. It's a really good run as well from Amina Matoug of Netherlands. She was 21st as a junior last year, has taken herself over to that American collegiate system we were mentioning, 28th at NCAs. So Amina Matoug looks like one to try and stake a claim to that bronze medal as well. It's very, very competitive in that chasing pack.
Well, there's less than 10 athletes within 30 seconds of these two. That's how much they've turned it on. Look at the gap behind them there to the pack, probably 100 metres down as they negotiate this bend for the final time. They're heading out on this last lap, and Battacletti has the bull by the horns. I just get the feeling she's psychologically, as much as visually, as from what we can see there, wrestling control from Megan Keith, who I'm not sure if she's hanging on, but the Brit is 2 or 3 metres down now. Is that gap going to widen? This hill for the final time will be very important.
It will be really showing. I think Nadia Battacletti won the race up the hill on the previous lap. She did push through the flat section, and then Megan Keith managed to get back on terms on the downhill. But if it was going to come down to a sprint finish, you'd have to look at Nadia Battacletti. She's got that track speed, 14:46, 7th at the Olympic Games in 2021. And I think we can start to see what could be a definitive gap opening up. Megan Keith just starting to grind it out a tiny bit. As she looks over her shoulder, she'll see some great performances from her teammates.
Well, the team standings after 3 laps: Great Britain, Italy and France, Spain in 4th, Germany in 5th. Great Britain outstanding with the lead they've got, but outstanding at the moment is Battacletti, Hannah, because that is now becoming a decisive gap. She's really turned the screw over this last 100 metres or so, where they take this little dog leg and then head into the hill. That 10-metre gap could well be decisive.
We had a chance to talk about the course with a Danish athlete, Christian Ulberg Hansen. He was competing in the mixed relay. He very much said he thought the race is won going into that indoor section. He wouldn't expect much of a change in positions when you come down that. Not quite seen that. We've seen a bit more drama in that closing 400 metres, but in this kind of race where it's been a head-to-head, saw it with Charles Hicks and Zach Mohammed. If you can just manage to drop your opposition as you get to this indoor section, I think that gold medal could be yours. But Nadia Battacletti, so many disruptions coming in. Do you think she's perhaps run the first 3 laps conservatively, a little bit nervous, just trying to see how she is today, and then she could relax and put her foot down on this final circuit?
Well, she is the real deal, isn't she, Nadia Battacletti? And to be fair, she is so supreme by going by a championship racing record. Maybe at 90% fitness, she's still better than the rest. I mean, 14:46, her 5,000 metre best. Megan Keith has run 15:53. I mean, she's over a minute slower at 5,000. That is a huge margin. She's got a great engine, as Battacletti. She moves. She moves well. She's got a lovely, relaxed style, and she's opened up 60 metres over the last 90 seconds. I mean, that is a huge gap. Brilliant running from Megan Keith now, who surely has secured a medal. Looks to be the silver. Let's not count our eggs, chickens before they're hatched, as Battacletti negotiates that awkward little left-hand turn.
Battacletti looking every bit the cross-country specialist skipping down these hills, but she is gasping for air. She will have put in a humongous effort up that hill to bridge this gap, but it does look like it could be a 4th successive gold medal for Nadia Battecletti. We've already seen a gold medal for the Italians on the mixed relay. That was sensational. It was dramatic. It came down to the closing few metres, but Nadia Battecletti has put on an exhibition round this final circuit, and in the end it's going to be a convincing victory ahead of Great Britain and Northern Ireland's Megan Keith. Nadia Battecletti, hopefully a moment to relax and enjoy, and there's the smile and there's the wave. Big pressure on this young woman's shoulders, and she has delivered here in Piemonte-La Park, a 4th consecutive gold medal for Italy's Nadia Battecletti, and a inspired silver medal from last year's under-20 champion Megan Keith. She gave it everything to live with Nadia Battecletti and couldn't quite handle the strength of the older athlete.
But she'll be in this category for another couple of years, Megan Keith, if she so chooses and doesn't want to do the senior race. Brilliant run from her. She's given everything. Battecletti quite supreme on the day. Another gold medal, 2nd gold for Italy. 13 seconds that winning margin eventually, Hannah.
Alexandra Millard, the Bill Foster coached athlete, with a brilliant bronze medal there. She looks so excited. What a 4th place for Amina Matug in her first race in the under-23 category. And a very tired but very happy Grace Carson coming home in 5th place. 3 scorers in 5 for Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Same as the under-20 men, slightly different order.
Can tell you that Battecletti, well, the 2 previous laps, the 2nd lap was a 5:06, the 3rd lap a 5:04. The reason she opened up that gap on Megan Keith, because they ran a 4:53, or she ran a 4:53 final circuit, and Megan Keith probably maintained her tempo really well through that final circuit, Hannah, but Battecletti, with her strength, her speed, her experience, able to turn it up a notch and take it into territory that Megan Keith just couldn't live with as yet. Megan Keith, though, is 2 years younger than Battecletti, and that is a lot of ground to give.